Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WEI Tech Talk Podcast. I'm Therese Jardine, and I'm joined today by Paul Desir, who's a software engineer at a large Northwestern technology company. Today, we're going to learn about Paul's career trajectory, which was jump-started by an IT apprenticeship, the same apprenticeship model that WEI offers today. Paul, welcome to the podcast, and thanks for joining us. As we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to these days?
Yeah, absolutely. I was interested in technology and computers and cars and a lot of these things since I was a child. And I kind of told myself, I want to work in this type of industry. And pretty much I just did the traditional route. I got a bachelor's degree. I chose to do it in computer science because at that particular time I was interested in video games and I just learned that there are programming languages and these things are coded. So it happened to be at the right moment that I was interested in that. And I decided to do computer science and I graduated and then I started looking for jobs and here I am now. Now it's been 3 years and I specifically work on programming and developing websites.
So it's my understanding you went through an apprenticeship. So maybe we can talk a little bit about how you came across that and then what it has meant for your career as you've worked your way through the technology space.
The story goes as like this. After I graduated in 2021, this was in May. So at that time, I didn't have any internship experience, which is considered like a big disadvantage, I would particularly say, if you're graduating in computer science. So I kind of had the feeling like this is going to be difficult, the interview process, maybe I'm going to apply and I'm never going to hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily for me, I was on Indeed and I just made an application to a specific company. I didn't know too much about it, but I'm just applying. And I got a call back. And that's when I was introduced to the concept of an apprenticeship. And I would be given guidance and training and mentorship. And I would be given assistance in looking for jobs. I got a job interview pretty quickly. And with the help of the person mentoring me at the time, I was able to get a job offer. And so that's how I ran into this type of offer. And that's how I got my start in the industry.
So it sounds like, I mean, it's a deeper experience than a traditional internship. And, from back in my day in college, if you did an internship, it was almost never a paid thing. So, that could be a barrier for a lot of people. And so with this apprenticeship, you're kind of building on what you learned in school, you're getting paid to learn, and you're being trained on the tech stack that the company that you hope to work for is using. Is that a fair way of describing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the apprenticeship that I did is highly customizable. For example, when I first started working at my job, we were working with Angular, which is a programming framework for
Okay.
the websites. And at that time, I wasn't very familiar with that. So I immediately asked, hey, I would like to focus on this technology. And I had sessions immediately, specifically on that. And throughout the course of the year, there are times where I have to learn something else at work, and I would ask to specifically work on that. So it was very highly customizable, and they did a great job at keeping up with my demands, essentially.
Well, it sounded like you were really hungry for getting a lot of different experiences. Talk to me a little bit about, how you mentioned the mentorship aspect of it. How did that work for you, and what do you think was a meaningful impact of that on your whole overall experience?
It's very important. It was very important for me to have someone I could just ask questions about and ask about their experiences and them telling me stories about how they started and
Mm-hmm.
how the way that I feel is completely relatable, and I shouldn't put too much pressure on myself.
What were some projects that you worked on that had an impact on not only yourself for your career, but also for the business that you were working in?
When I first joined, I'd say about 3 months at the company that I work now, the idea of fast track projects came. And this is something that we haven't done before, and they were just experimenting. Is it successful or not? And it's when you take a small group of developers and you tell them, hey, we're going to give you rapid access um, and resources, and you're just going to focus on delivering this project. So at the time, I was working on Angular, and essentially what happened was like I said, I asked to specifically work on these things on the
Mhm.
side. And what happens is as I work, some of the things that I learned before on the apprenticeship kind of clicked as I'm seeing them in an actual real world problem. And it's like, oh, like this is why this is this way. And it kind of brings this reaffirmation of wow. And it brings a sense of joy as well. It kind of gives you confidence when you find these moments, and it helped me to push through and get the project done.
So you were working with kind of a smallish team, it sounds like. So you guys all had to huddle and figure out the problem and then work together to come up with a solution. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, it's like a hackathon type of stuff.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, something like that.
So what were some of the little victories that your team came up with as you were working on those fast track projects?
Yeah, so the specific thing I was working on was our we had a website that had a lot of users, and we wanted to give admins and users visibility into what the users could do. And then it's like a roles and permission
Okay.
feature, actually. So the admin can see everything that the users do. And then maybe there's a tier under that's like they can see some of what the users can. So it's like, and then also we thought about the concept of working on teams. So it's like essentially just getting the feature out there. And it didn't have to be perfect. It's more like, hey, this is our idea. Is it a good thing to continue and bring the rest of the team to pursue this or not? So that's what we worked on.
So almost like a proof of concept, maybe.
Yeah, I would
Oh,
say that as
all
well.
right. One of the questions I want to talk about, and it sounds like, as you were coming out of school, especially not having had an internship, just the overall impact of having access to this apprenticeship and how it kind of set you on a trajectory for success going forward in your career. Do you have any thoughts on that you'd like to share?
First thing is I didn't know this type of program existed in the first place.
Hmm.
So just to kind of stumble my way into it and then recognizing the value that I could get by participating, I told myself I try not to be too much of a demanding person. I kind of like to let things happen organically. Even if I was struggling to find a job or if I couldn't do it the traditional route, I would take this opportunity as humbly as I can. And I believe that things will work out for me. So I joined the apprenticeship. I did what was asked. I asked questions. I followed recommendations. And lo and behold, everything worked out for me.
So I'm guessing that you would recommend this to other folks that are starting out in their careers in tech. And knowing now that what how would you encourage, some of your junior classmates that you might still keep in touch with? How would you encourage them to go about embarking on an experience like this?
Yeah, it's really about mindset, in my opinion. So if you come in with the right attitude and you do the right things, like the people that are part of the apprenticeship are gonna support you and put you in the right directions. So uh, The main path to like convince someone, or I'd say, is to just inform them about it, and it becomes more of an option in their head, more of a path that they could
Mhm.
possibly. That's what I would say.
So it's a pretty lucky thing that you stumbled across it on. Did you say it was on Indeed that you found that?
Yeah, on Indeed, just
Yeah,
a notification. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You know, it's funny how sometimes those little chance encounters can turn out to be something really big and life changing, really, in a lot of ways. Um, so, talking about life changing, if you hadn't found this program, where do you think, what challenges do you think you would have faced without having the support of an apprenticeship like what you went through?
I probably it would have taken me a lot longer to find a job. Absolutely,
Hmm.
um, because like I said, I was applying pretty much immediately, and I wasn't hearing anything. To be honest, mostly just you get an email maybe 3 weeks later. Sorry for your consideration.
Yeah.
So I think it would have taken a lot longer. I guess what I would have done is I would have just done a lot more personal projects and did a
Hmm.
lot more networking, and eventually it would have happened. But I found an opportunity 3 months after graduation, so I don't think I would have found anything that fast without going through the apprenticeship.
Yeah, that is pretty fast. And I think one of the challenges that hiring managers face is, you learn what you learn in school, and some of it's practical, but a lot of it, I think, is theory. And so from a hiring manager's perspective, bringing on somebody brand new out of school, they're kind of looking at a reasonably lengthy investment in training and bringing a person along. So having gone through the experience you went through, what would you say to hiring managers who are looking to bring on folks in, technology, IT, software development?
The way to think about it is when you're hiring a junior, it is an investment, like you said, and it
Mhm.
takes time to learn all the technologies. It takes time to learn the context of your company. So, what an apprenticeship can do is it supports you with the work that you have to do to invest into the employee. So, for example, if I joined the company as a junior and I didn't have an apprenticeship, I would have to be slacking or communicating with some of the senior people and taking time away from them. And they would have to hop on calls with me, and that takes time from what they have to do. Whereas
Mhm.
if you have an apprenticeship, you can simply you will still have to ask questions to seniors, but it's going to be less
Sure.
frequent. And if you do, your questions are going to be more focused, more detailed, because that person is being supported alongside the work that they have to do. So I think that's the benefit. It's gonna remove a bit of the work that you have to invest.
Well, and in my mind, you've learned a couple of different languages. It sounds like you mentioned Angle, and I think you said one other one.
Yeah. So I had to learn a lot of stuff. I learned C sharp, JavaScript, TypeScript, um, Java. It's a lot of stuff.
And that's not necessarily; those aren't necessarily the skills they teach you in school. Is that fair to say?
I think the concept of school is you're just introduced to different things, and it's the onus is kind of on you to be curious and to continue on what you've learned. That's what school does. And most of the time when you're working, it's not like a one-to-one. I think the best way to think about it is when you join a company or when you become a professional, you just learn better on the job. There are things you just learn on the job and things you have to learn. So I think the idea of school is to teach you how to learn. That's what they try to instill. And
Mm-hmm.
if you find yourself in a work environment, that's when you have to apply how to learn in that specific context to become the best employee that you can at that company. And if you change jobs or if you go to a different job, you're gonna have to go through that relearn process again.
So what was something that you found the most rewarding about the balance between the training you got, the mentoring, and then the actual on-the-job experience that you received when you went through the apprenticeship?
Confidence, I'd say. I've said this before, but wh- when you're joining as a junior and you don't know how things work, um, you're expected to make mistakes, but it just feels better um, just to have different avenues. Because sometimes there are times where I wouldn't want to ask too many questions to the seniors. I don't know, perhaps I was just too shy or something. But
Mhm.
I knew that I had an apprenticeship and it was pretty much their job to help me be better. So maybe I was more comfortable speaking with them. Um,
You're talking
and
about the mentor in that regard?
yeah, pretty much. So that's the most, yeah, that's the most valuable thing that I got. It's just there are people here to help you. Use the resources, and that
Mhm.
gives you confidence at what you're doing at your job, and you become incrementally better.
What I would like to ask is, do you have a big goal for 2025 that you've set for yourself professionally that may have been, had its genesis in this whole experience that you've been through?
My goal. Well, recently I kind of decided what career path I'd want to take. So typically in technology, it's you either do something that's um, hyper specific, where you become like a fellow, where you're
Oh.
like deeply like tech, like people come to you for consultation about different solutions that they need to do in the company, or
Mhm.
you do the managerial route where you are part of a team and you help a team become better. So I
Mhm.
ultimately decided that I want to do the managerial route. Um, so right now, my goals for this year is to kind of think about what can I do to make my team more optimal? What can I do to make my team more efficient? What are little things that I can do to remove friction? So I'm trying to build up these little, maybe I can write more documentation. Maybe I can hop on more phone calls with people and ask them, hey, like, what's something that I can do that can help the team be better? So I'm kind of trying to be a manager, but not really, and seeing where that takes me.
Well, to kind of pull that full circle, if you were to go into that path, then that would set you up perfectly to bring on an apprentice in your space and maybe be a mentor to them.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's another thing that I'm also thinking about is it's especially as of now, it's hard to get a job, and also it's more competitive. So I kind of want. I feel like I feel fortunate for what I have, and I want to share it with other people. So
Mhm.
that's absolutely something I want to do. Find other people who are passionate, who are curious, and just give them some ideas. Hey, you could do this. You could try that, and see
Mhm.
where they go. Like there's a curiosity aspect that I want to know. Is if I give people a set of tools or if I present them a set of information, what can they achieve? That's can be something cool to brag about.
So, Paul, it's been great getting to know you today and hearing about how the impact of the apprenticeship has had on your career trajectory. So, thank you so much for joining us today. And for those of you listening who would like to learn more about this life changing program and how it could have a positive impact on your IT team, please visit WEI.com or follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date.